A couple of weeks ago, I did a video called Overpay or Invest, and it's proven pretty popular. It's easily the most commented on video in the first week or so since its release. But I made a pretty obvious omission from it, so I need to rectify that and add a little bit more detail. Plus, I want to stress test the conclusion a little bit. So, who's with me for Overpay or Invest? The return. Hi and welcome back to the channel. My name is Pete Matthew. I'm a chartered financial planner based here in the UK, and I've been putting up videos on YouTube for more than 10 years, giving you everything you need to know and everything you need to do to secure your financial future. Yep, lots of you commented on the Overpay or Invest video, and if you haven't watched it yet, you really should. I'll put a link to it up here and in the description below the video. But if you do watch it, definitely come back and watch this one straight after. Promise? But let me very quickly remind you of the salient points. Oh, and if this is useful, please hit the like button, because that's quite the fashionable thing to do these days. Subscribe to see more videos just like this one, only different, obviously. So in the first video, I looked at an example of someone with a £200,000 mortgage over 20 years with an interest rate of 2.5%. And these fictional people had £250 extra per month to do something with. So should they overpay the mortgage? Or should they invest? Well, the conclusion of the video is dead simple. It's that it almost always makes financial, mathematical sense to invest, particularly given interest rates on mortgages are so low. But there is more to it than just maths. There is massive psychological benefit to being debt-free or to reducing debt. So basically the answer was, it depends on you and your disposition towards the riskier but potentially higher returns of investing versus the lower but guaranteed savings of paying down debt. So I want to take this a step further by looking at the figures if you continue investing for the balance of the mortgage term after it's paid off. I want to see if things still stack up if interest rates rise, and I want to look at some added reasons why you might want to consider either option. As ever, there are chapter markers, so you can skip to the points that most interest you if you want to. By the way, there's a guy playing the accordion outside my window. Can you hear him? Now, in the previous video, I worked out that by overpaying £250 per month, the 20-year mortgage would be paid off 4 years and 8 months early, saving £13,383 in interest. Now, had the person invested the extra £250 a month at a 5% annual return, they would be sitting on £69,236 at that point. But I ended it there instead of going on to ask what might happen if the person who had now paid off their mortgage continued to invest the £1,060 a month mortgage payment plus the extra £250 for the remainder of the 20-year mortgage term. Can't quite believe I missed that. It's a good job for you in the comments prompting me to think about it. They would now have £1,310 per month every month to invest, and over the remaining 4 years and 8 months, and assuming that same 5% return, they would have invested £73,360 and seen that money grow to £82,776. Now, if we compare that with the person who didn't overpay, but who invested that £250 a month right from the start while paying their mortgage for the full 20 years, that person would have invested a total of £60,000 over the 20-year term and seen it grow to £103,186. So the investor is still £21,000 or so better off than the overpayer, and the maths still stacks up. One really important factor, of course, is that interest rates might not stay the same. In fact, they definitely won't if inflation continues to rise. And while I don't see any reason why we might be heading for really high interest rates anytime soon, we should factor in the possibility. Unlike our American cousins, here in the UK, we don't generally get access to super long-term fixed rate mortgage deals. So we're going to be changing our mortgage throughout the term. And if interest rates do rise, and assuming a fixed level of disposable income, then our example borrower will have less available to overpay each month. Now, if the interest rate in our example rises from 2.5% to 4.9%, nearly doubling, then all of that extra £250 a month that was available, that will now become part of the minimum payment. So there is no scope for overpaying, reducing the term, or for investing any surplus. I really should say that in real life there are lots of variables at play here. Mortgages don't amortize at the same rate throughout the term. In the early years, almost all of your monthly payment is interest. If rates change mid-term, then the amount of your extra payment will depend on the remaining term and the outstanding balance, etc. So really, theoretical examples do only take us so far. So let's just keep that in mind. But if I use a mortgage interest rate of, say, 4%, but keep everything else the same, the minimum payment on the mortgage becomes £1,212 a month, which leaves just £98 available each month to overpay. Now, the mortgage would be paid off early, though only 2 years and 2 months early, saving £10,917 in interest. Someone investing that £98 a month would end up with £40,449 after 20 years of paying the minimum payment on their mortgage. The person who overpaid and then invested the full monthly amount for the remaining 2 years and 2 months would have £36,044. So I'm not sure that increasing the interest rate changes the outcome of the experiment materially. The answer to whether you should overpay or invest is still, it depends. Now, just quickly, if this is useful, I go a lot deeper into this stuff and lots more besides in Meaningful Academy Build Wealth. It's the best place I know to make serious progress with your finances quickly. We talk about all sorts, from behavioral finance to how to find an investment fund, which platforms and which accounts to choose, and you get a year's access to the brilliant Voyant Go planning app as part of your one-off subscription. It's the most distilled learning that I've ever created, and best of all, it's a brilliant community of like-minded people that are really out to help each other. So find out more at meaningfulacademy.com/buildwealth. And if you do decide to sign up, use the coupon code YouTube and save some money. Maybe a Christmas present to yourself. So why else might you overpay? Well, I think it says something that the vast majority of comments on the first video were in favor of overpaying. I think that shows just how powerful the emotional and psychological benefit of being debt-free more quickly really is. But putting that to one side just for a second, reducing the amount of debt brings some flexibility, perhaps in the event of difficult circumstances. Your lender should be more likely to be flexible if you get into difficulty and they can see that you've managed the debt well in the past. There is a flip side to that, which I'll get to in just a sec. When the time comes to remortgage, then a lower outstanding debt should lead to lower interest rates, and that's a clear benefit. Inflation is a factor, I think, as well. Given that inflation is running higher than interest rates, this would suggest that your other costs will rise perhaps more quickly than rising rates. So being able to remortgage to a lower monthly payment, or even just reverting to not overpaying, would enable you to give some of the slack to your other costs. That might be helpful. So what about investing? Apart from the mathematical advantage, which I think we've proven, are there any other benefits? Well, I mentioned a flip side to the benefit of reduced debt in time of difficulty. Because if you have a sizable nest egg saved and invested, that would obviously come in handy. You can use it to help pay the mortgage if you lose your job for a few weeks or a few months. It would pain me a little bit to see the hard work of my investing being undone, but that's life. Let's be pragmatic about it. And it would certainly be easier. You could more flexibly draw off your ISA than arranging to redraw down mortgage debt that you've previously overpaid. Unless, of course, you have a flexible mortgage which easily allows for that. One could argue that if we're in a season where lots of people are losing their jobs, stock markets might also be depressed, and that's exactly the time when you wouldn't want to be drawing off your investments. Remember, if you were to pay in the extra money available each month into a pension and get tax relief on it, that would skew things even more in favor of investing versus overpaying, as long as we understand, of course, that pensions are generally less accessible. But check out this video comparing pensions versus ISA savings if you haven't already. That was another popular one. So basically, folks, the conclusion of the earlier video stands, I think. Which option you choose, overpaying or investing, depends on you. It depends on your tolerance for risk versus guarantees, and yes, it depends on the position of your partner if you have one. It's also absolutely a non-binary answer to the question. Why not overpay and invest if you can? I do that, I'm lucky enough to be able to do that, and it works for me. And lots of you in the comments last time said that you're doing much the same thing. As ever, folks, it's important not to be too dogmatic in the face of the many variables at play here. There is never a right answer that will serve everyone, a perfect answer to the question. There is only a good answer for you and your circumstances. But for the few of you who commented that I should impose my supposedly more educated and qualified views on my wife, you know what you can do. If I were to dismiss her feelings about one of the biggest financial decisions that we make as a couple and impose my views on her, that would be nothing less than financial abuse. That has no place in my home, and it shouldn't have in any home. Thanks folks for watching this video. If it was useful, then please remember to hit the like button and subscribe if you're not already. It really, really does help, and I do appreciate your support and all the feedback that you're giving me. I will see you in the next video.